For GateWorld.net, this is David Reed, and I'm here with Mr. Ronny Cox.
Hi, David.
Ronny, thank you for being with us on this fine afternoon.
My pleasure.
Now, you've been preoccupied this past week. What have you been up to?
Oh, I've been, well, you know, in my other life, I'm a singer-songwriter, and I do acoustic music, and for lack of a better description, we call it folk music. It's more acoustic oriented. But some people have said we're going to have to give up our folk music credentials because I have a muted cornet in my band, and you don't often hear muted cornet in a folk group. But so there's a big folk conference here this weekend, and we were chosen as one of the groups to have official showcases there, and so we've been performing all weekend.
Okay. Now, this is very important to you. When did you start playing, and how did you get hooked?
Well, I was a musician. I was making records when I was in high school. Most people didn't realize that. And so when I was struggling as an actor early on in my career, I was struggling also as a musician. And one of the things that my first film, Deliverance, one of the reasons I got it was because I was also a guitar player and could play. And my second big film was a film called Bound for Glory, the Woody Guthrie story that Hal Ashby directed. And my first television series was a series called Apple's Way, and I used to pick and sing a song on that every week. So early in my career, everybody knew that I was this singer, guitar player from New Mexico. But it's just that I've had such success in the last few years, 15 or 20 years, of playing guys primarily in suits and ties, corporate executives, senators, vice presidents, presidents of the United States, the dictators of Mars, heads of the Beverly Hills Cops. So that always guys in suits and ties. And so then people get really amazed and sort of blown away when I show up with my guitar and then play. But one of the things that's been really gratifying for me about that aspect is, I don't know if I guess you are aware that I've gone to a number of the Stargate conventions, especially in Europe. Brian Cooney, who's puts on the Wolf events there, has always been really fabulous for me. And we always go over and do a concert for the Stargate fans. And I have to say this from the get-go. I went there. I play Senator Kinsey, Vice President Kinsey, the most hated character probably on the show. I love playing that character, by the way. And first of all, when we went over to England and Germany and Scotland for these shows, I had every reason to think, that they didn't really understand what folk music was either. And I had every reason to believe that they might just boo us off the stage. And I have to say that the Stargate fans were and I'm not using hyperbole here at all. They were the best fans for the music that I've ever encountered. Wow. They got every nuance of every song. They sat on the edge of their seat. It's a little embarrassing to talk about it. We had 6 encores, could still be playing it was just, we took over a number of CDs to sell. We sold out before we ever started playing.
I bet.
And so the Stargate fans have just been wonderful, and they're so supportive of my music. It's been really, really gratifying to do that.
Last time we talked to you, you said that, I think you said that you had done a couple of those and that you were hoping to do more, so that has really taken off.
Yeah, it has. I was just, as a matter of fact, right now, I was supposed to be in New Zealand and Australia doing, but they had some financial problems down there, and so that sort of fell through, so we're going to do that next year. But I'm going I'm going back to England in early next year. I've done one in Tulsa, and so I've done 5 or 6 or 7 of these now. And
Wow.
actually, Bob Picardo was the first guy who sort of turned me on to this. 'Cause, you know, he's a wonderful singer
Yes,
too.
he is.
And Bob had seen, you know, had heard my CDs and seen my stuff, and he said, Ronnie, you know, you need to go and do this kind of stuff. But yeah, the music is a really, really big, important part of my life now. I've been lucky. I've had a wonderful career, and the one show that I'll make time to go and do are the Stargate shows, because they, I know this sounds self-aggrandizing, but they always treat me practically like royalty when I go up there. I mean, they've just, I can't say how enamored I am of that whole, of all the producers and writers and of course all the other actors there. They've just, for the last 8-10 years that I've been going up and doing the shows, I've never been treated better, ever.
Good. Take us back to that first show that you were part of, Politics.
Yeah.
Albeit a clip show, but a good one.
Yeah.
How did you get roped into Stargate?
Well, they had just sort of, because I don't, as you know, I don't do an awful lot of episodic television. It's my career has been primarily in films and films for TV, as opposed to episodic stuff. I've done a couple of series things, but almost no guest starring on series, other than the couple of episodes I did on Star Trek. But so when they called me up, I was fascinated by this character, and I have to say this. Originally, when I did Kinsey, it was just going to be one character. It was a clip show, sort of recap that first season, and we were never going to see him again. But first of all, we had such fun doing it, and the writers and the producers loved what I did, and they said, Ronnie, we'd like you to come back more. And I have to say this, they've said, where do you want the character to go?
Really?
Yeah, and I have to say that about half of the script, now sometimes I'm not saying that I make up where he's going to go.
Right.
I mean, they're certainly in charge of this, but they do call me up and say, or they say, well, what would you like to do? And I said, well, what about if we did this or this or this? And so about half of the storylines have been from discussions with me and the producers and the writers of saying where we'd like to see this guy go. And as we all know, playing the bad guys is about twice as much fun,
of course,
as playing the good guys.
Of course.
They're always more interesting. And my relationship with Rick has always just been wonderful. I mean, we had this really good working relationship, and we both like and respect each other, and it's been a real joy going up and working. I mean, I love all the actors up there, but most of my scenes have been with Rick, and we've just always worked that out really well.
Did you know Rick before Stargate?
Didn't really. I mean, you know, we'd sort of crossed paths a couple of times. You know, run into each other at sort of functions occasionally, but didn't really know each other. Okay. And so when we did Politics that first time, there was a little bit of feeling out there. And as you know, Rick is one of the guys that one of the most endearing qualities about him is that he sort of acts off the top of his head. And I mean, always well-founded, I mean, well-grounded, I should say. You know, he really knows what that character is doing, but he's willing to let that sort of his natural wit
come out,
sort of bubble there, and I think that really helps the situation. So, and I love working that way too, because I know this sounds like a cliche, but the real joy of acting is reacting.
Right.
It's being there, and so when you have someone like Rick, who gives you so much, then all you have to do really to win is to be present.
Well, you really don't know what he's going to do next because he has that freedom to do something that's completely off the wall and have it stick.
Yeah, and for I've been around for a while and I'm pretty good at improvisational kind of things. I think that's one of the reasons why they like us working together, because I'm pretty good at sticking to where we need to go, but at the same time, because oftentimes, with someone like Rick, you need someone that's going to make sure that the plot points get through. Although I'm not implying that he wouldn't at all. He always makes sure that the plot points are there.
Right. Did a clip show as your original appearance seem bland or ridiculous when you first looked at this?
No, it's actually, if you go back and look at that, it's a clip show. For me personally, that was a huge show because Kinsey sort of had to carry that sort of whole show. I mean, Kinsey, all the other things were just the clips. But if you go back and look at that, that's a show that 90% of the dialogue and 90% of the words going on there are all Kinsey. I mean, so in some ways it was sort of a chance for an episodic show to almost be kind of a little tour de force there kind of thing. So it was a very challenging, because when I went up to see it, I didn't know a lot of those shows, so I had to do a lot of research. I had to, I had to go back and look at a lot of episodes so that I knew a little bit about what I was talking about. And so in some ways it kind of gave me a crash course on what the series was about, and getting to know those characters, because I didn't, I was not that aware of the show, to tell you the truth.
Well, not everyone gets to shut down the SGC.
And it should be shut down. They're wasting our money. I mean, good Lord. I mean,
So this is what
ridiculous.
The money goes through, the drain.
Yeah, that's right.
Very good show. Are there any qualities about Kinsey that you like or wish you had?
No.
Really?
No, absolutely not. I mean, the great thing about the kind of work I love to do is, I mean, like I told you, I love playing the bad guys. Well, I like to think of myself as being a good guy, and I spend the great portion of my life trying to be a good person. The fun is getting to play someone completely outside of me.
Right.
And I don't draw from anything of myself on Kinsey. Kinsey, there's some 2 or 3 people in the world that I based him on, well, I based him on 2 people. One's a real person. I probably can get in trouble for saying this, but I was always fascinated by Senator Orrin Hatch from Utah. That sort of right-wing, conservative senator, but he's a sort of pretty much of a straight arrow, and Kinsey needed to be a little more off the wall than that. So I sort of combined aspects of Senator Orrin Hatch with Sterling Hayden's character in Dr. Strangelove.
Okay, well, here we go, ladies and gentlemen. That's where Kinsey came from.
I mean, who else? What other character in a modern film has added something to our American lexicon? I mean, if you notice, if anyone talks about body fluids these days, they say bodily fluids, because he said precious bodily fluids. I mean, it's absolutely nonsense, but everybody says that now,
right?
Because Sterling Hayden, as Jack the Ripper, said, I loved his character. I loved that film, and so well, I'm shutting that down too.
I bet he could do it. Are you going to be in any episodes in season 9?
I never know. Now that Rick's not on it much, and since they brought in other guys, if they call me, I'll do it. But it seems seems like maybe not. I don't know.
Shooting is already wrapped.
Yeah, for this
So,
season. Yeah.
Okay.
So I'm not on any this season. No.
All right. Well, that's disappointing.
Yeah.
Yeah. How do you feel returning without Rick not being
Well,
there?
that'll be a challenge. I don't know if I will. If I don't know where they can go with Kinsey, because they're sort of gone in a different direction now. And that would be an interesting process now. I just don't know how it's going to work.
He's been made a GateWorld. I mean, did you see that coming?
I asked for that.
You asked for that?
I did.
Really?
I did indeed. That's one of the places where they went, where they said, what would you like to do? I said, let's put him on the other side.
You really don't think that damaged his uniqueness as a villain?
No, because by the end of that episode, if you realize he had become completely unenamored with the GateWorld and was turning on that. So I think we've got an opportunity. If had Rick stayed, and who knows what they want to do now if they stay with those stories. There's any number of directions that Kinsey can go now, because in some ways he's been through the fire.
Yeah, but it's not really Kinsey. It's the GateWorld that's taken him over.
No. I mean, you're not on the GateWorld for good and all. I mean,
right.
This is a sci-fi show.
Right, you're right. Right, he could change the GateWorld's personality, perhaps. I mean, as rotten as he is.
Well, you notice that by the end of that episode, he was no longer. By the end of that episode, he was no longer following the GateWorld plot lines. He was going a different direction.
He was doing his own thing.
So we finally found somebody that maybe had a will to stand up to the GateWorld. Think about that. Think about that you've got a character that's out there that was able to deal with those guys.
So you've had no discussions with the writers, directors?
No,
producers?
I haven't. That's another thing with this whole music thing. I've been so involved with this music thing now. I've got a brand new CD that we just finished, and it's going to come out in December 1st. We hope to have it out, and I'm probably going to do 125 dates.
Holy cow!
Just playing music.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, good for you.
Yeah. So I'm doing a lot of music dates now.
Okay.
My poor agents, my poor acting agents are slitting their wrists. I'm lucky. I've had a wonderful career, and I get asked to do a lot of stuff. But I'm also lucky. I'm not rich or anything like that, but I've made enough money that I can sort of do what I want to do.
You can do what you want to do.
And so I'm pretty selective about what I want to do. And the funny thing is, I mean, if I make this much money as an actor, I make this much money
right.
as a musician. But I really do love going.
That's the point of it.
Yeah.
Well, fortunately, Stargate is on the top of your list as well. I mean, alongside the music.
It is. I mean, the one show that. But see, that's the other thing that shows how wonderful the Stargate people were, because all this time I was doing the music stuff like that, and I had some music dates that conflicted with the dates they wanted to work. And to show you how wonderful they have been to me, they changed their schedule.
For you.
How often have you heard a television show change their schedule to accommodate an actor?
That's wonderful.
And they've done it 3, 4, 5 times. I mean, so you can see why I'm so fond of those people. As a production entity, I've in my 30-some years in the business, I have never worked with anyone that I thought treated people with such dignity and made every effort to be in this business the way we all wish it were.
Right. Your character has had a lot of great interaction with O'Neill, as you've said. But which other characters besides RDA and Jack have you found especially challenging or rewarding to work with?
Well, it's always interesting to work with Jackson, of course, and with Amanda. I have a great working relationship with all of them. I love the episode when they brought in Bill Devane as the president, and of course Jimmy McDaniels was on that show as well, and Bob Picardo was in that show
Inauguration.
as well. Yeah, and Don. I mean, everybody that's been on there has just been. It's just that the bulk of my work has always been with Rick, because they somehow always sort of. It's, when you want someone butting heads, you want. I don't mean to sound too self-aggrandizing, but you want the heavyweights sort of going at each other. So it since Rick was that sort of that force, then if you had to have someone of sort of equal or greater force. Otherwise, he was a straw man in a way. And same with me. I mean, he wasn't going to deal with underlings. He was going to deal with that first.
Right. That scene in Chain Reaction, you, Rick, and Tom Macbeth, Mayborn.
Exactly.
Some of the three strongest heads in the show. Here we go.
Yeah.
That was a great show. You've been in several great episodes over the years. I mean, Lost City and Chain Reaction. Which do you highlight as your favorite?
Well, that's like picking a favorite child. Yet every show and every episode has a sort of unique, particular problem to deal with, and once you sort of immerse yourself into that, I mean, in many ways, I mean, obviously politics meant a lot to me because that was the first one, and it sort of allowed me to sort of set the limits of what I thought we could do. One of the things that I'm sort of proudest of about politics, because that, politics is what, 8-9 years ago now?
First season.
Yeah. I don't know if you realize it or not, but when I went on there, one of the first things I insisted on was that Kinsey always wore his little American flag in the
patriotic
in the lapel of his coat. When I did that, nobody was doing it.
Really?
Nobody was doing it, because this was way before 9/11.
Right.
And it was way before anyone. And so it's amazing to look around and see, because now every politician, I mean, that's part of their uniform, is that they have to wear that flag in their lapel.
Did you insist on that?
I did.
Okay.
I did. As a matter of fact, when I first said this is what I wanted to do, and here again, they let me do it, but they're saying, Ronny's a little eccentric. We'll let him do that.
Well, let's see if it works.
Yeah, I mean, they were willing to do it, but I mean, it was not a thing that was important to them at all.
Right.
All I'm saying is it was a thing that was only important to me. But I just, that was part of that Orrin Hatch, Sterling Hayden character from Strangelove. That was just a quirk of his that I felt really important about.
Chain Reaction, we got to see a little bit of Senator Kinsey's personal life. We got to meet his wife, found out the number of grandchildren, and so on and so forth. Was there anything that was rewarding about going into his house and seeing that atmosphere in terms of your direction as learning about the character?
No, as a matter of fact, I felt it was intrusive.
Really?
I did.
As the character did.
Exactly. To me, it was another problem he had to deal with, but in terms of, because I think typical of a lot of those guys is they keep their life sort of compartmentalized.
In a way, a little.
Exactly, and so for that to intrude into this was just, and to tell you the truth, dealing with his home life as an actor didn't help me at all, because there was no interaction with those people, really. And so it was, all it was it probably meant more to people outside of saying, oh, well, this gives us a little glimpse into Kinsey, but I didn't feel it gave me an ounce of more knowledge about Kinsey.
I found his wife was just as much a shark as he was. I mean, she pretended to be, and maybe she was a little ditzy here and there, but she was vicious in terms of calling me an ID.
Yes.
Okay, my husband's in trouble. Let's make the call.
Yeah, it's. I don't know. That just seemed. It just seemed that was the sort of the most pat writing that we had about the character.
So you didn't like that episode?
Oh, I loved the episode. Okay. I mean, the episode I loved. Just
the direction.
No, there wasn't even that. Really? Just the aspect of dealing with his home life was not as important to me as dealing with all the other stuff, because that's when we really got into him being all tied up in the NID and all of that stuff, which was here again required me to go and do a lot more stuff. So I spent more of my time worrying about that than I did about home life, really.
I found it interesting with that episode showing his personal life and the wealth that he had. Obviously he was a U.S. Senator running for office soon, but that he's always been so holier than thou and has this whole shield, this aura about him. But really when you get down and when you take a look at his computer and what he's really been up to, it's a completely different face. And the guy is nowhere near what people would think him as. And he's just been ready to kill RDA and Tom Macbeth. And he goes out on the front porch and talks about his love for America.
Exactly.
You know, have you found that polar?
No, I found it to be sort of what I think most politicians are like.
Yeah?
I mean, I think it was a great opportunity. I mean, that's one of the reasons why I embraced playing that guy. Most of us, I think, are a little dismayed at politics these days, and it's an opportunity to sort of hold a mirror up a little bit, if you will, and say, let's look at who we're voting for these days.
Right. If you never return to Stargate, are you satisfied with your footprints on the show, or do you feel that there are still more places to explore?
Oh, no, I'm perfectly at home with what we've done with Kinsey, and if he's gone as far as he's going to go on Stargate, that'll be great. If they wanted to take him over to Atlantis, I'd go over there.
Hey, well, he'd win a few rounds with Dr. Weir. That may be interesting.
Yeah.
Have you watched Atlantis at all?
I'm not as big a fan of Atlantis.
Really?
Yeah, I got to tell you the truth. I'm not much of a television fan.
Right.
I don't watch a lot of television. I love acting. To me, watching television is like a postman taking a walk.
That's a very good analogy. Ronny, thank you very much, sir.
Thank you.
I appreciate it.
My pleasure.
It's called Let Not Your Heart Be Troubled. Children, let not your hearts be troubled by things you can't do nothing about. If his eye is on the sparrow, then he sure won't let you down. I remember Sunday morning, sitting on Grandpa's knee, the congregation singing, the Rock of Ages cleft for me. Oh, the preacher spoke of heaven, he warned about the fires of hell. He taught the love of Jesus and drawing life from the living well. Children, let not your hearts be troubled by things you can't do nothing about. If his eye is on the sparrow, then he sure won't let you down. We were gathered by the Harpeth River. It was close enough to Jordan for me. When I came up from that water, oh, my sins had been set free. Now I stand upon that promise. I'm safe in the Master's hand, and I don't have to worry. I'm gonna see the promised land. Children, let not your hearts be troubled by things you can't do nothing about. If his eye is on the sparrow, then he sure won't let you down. Singing glory, hallelujah. Sing it right out loud. If his eye is on the sparrow, then he sure won't let you down. No, he sure won't let you down. Children, let not your hearts be troubled by things you can't do nothing about. If his eye is on the sparrow, then he sure won't let you down. No, he sure won't let you down. No, he sure won't let you down. Thank you. Said you're worried about my health. I ain't no bean sprout man myself. I love red meat and I hate the job. Love me, love my dog. Everybody sings. Love me, love my dog.